Alright friends and family, I got a really weird list, and I don't know if you're going to appreciate it. I don't know. I'm not really making fun of any one game, I'm just saying that in terms of social media engagement, there's been a few free-to-play games that, games as a service, you really want to keep that hype alive. You really want to have everyone just always focused on you, but some games can actually really kind of like exist underneath, in the deep of the ocean that is free-to-play games. We got huge heavy hitters like League of Legends, the new auto chesses, all that good stuff. And of course, they even compete with AAA games. I understand that. But it's just, it's kind of really cool. It's really refreshing. So this is a celebration video. Don't get me wrong. I know it can be a little bit negative or taken negatively, but this is a celebration of games that refuse to die. Free-to-play games as a service that just keep on trucking. Even though, they maybe were hyped at one point and then fell down, but they keep coming. They keep coming back. They keep coming up with new updates, and maybe even they're still pretty freaking popular. You can still actually play these games and genuinely enjoy them. So thank goodness, because there's so many free-to-play games that have died, or that basically nobody plays them, so there's no point in checking them out. So these games, worth checking out now, even still, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. So, keep the hype alive, let's get into the top 5. First game I want to talk about is going to be Brawlhalla. Now, I think to an extent, Brawlhalla maybe isn't too surprising, but Brawlhalla is, if you don't know at all, is essentially a Smash-like game, but it is the most unlike Smash-like game out there at the moment. Also, I think its graphics, its art style is something that could deter some people, but it's also the reason why it's kind of competitive, it's clean, it's very readable, and it's also very, very playable. What you want from a free-to-play game is for it to be able to run on as many machines as possible, and a lot of these other Smash-likes are more or less like higher fidelity, or they have really messy, even though they're very artistic, art styles. It's just Brawlhalla is the one that just comes out hitting. They get the weapon systems where you actually, every character has these weapon drops. It's kind of like they took the random weapon drops from Smash, and they actually made it like the main mechanic in Brawlhalla. So it's pretty crazy, it's pretty ridiculous. I put it very highly in my free-to-play fighting game list. Links in a comment if you guys want to read that, but Brawlhalla, okay, is a game that even now, even with Smash, being the titan that it is, it's still having big tournaments, it's still having big updates. It just had an Adventure Time freaking update, and there's just still a lot of content to be had here. And also, just as a game that you can play anywhere with anybody at any time, and yeah, you can actually get this on the Switch too. It's just an easy introductory game into, I guess, Smash likes, or get into platform fighters. And even still, it's just a little bit unique from a Smash that you can every once in a while jump in and have a hoot and holler. So Brawlhalla, you probably should have checked it out by now, but if not, hey, it's never too late. Number 4 on my list for free-to-play that refused to die is going to be DC Universe Online. And it might mean something a little bit, you know what, there's not many hero MMO out there, but DC Universe Online, it's even if there was, I think in my opinion, it's like the best. At least maybe not in terms of full MMO, but in terms of like an action RPG that's online. Dude, DC Universe is pretty action-packed. There's actually been a lot of times, okay, I gotta be honest, most of the time when I make a character in DC Universe Online, because it's always launching on new platforms, it just hit the Switch, which I actually just now downloaded again. I always make a Flash character, I always make a Speed character, and I kind of just run and jump around. Like, it just feels so good playing this game. And it's got that vertical gameplay that almost, maybe PlanetSide has, there's really not many games out there that have, that's MMOs that have this kind of gameplay. It's very, very special. And yeah, it might be cheesy and look strange, and it's like, oh, this is for kids. But I think overall, this is a great game for the family. I don't know, I think everyone can and should play it, and it looks like people still are. They keep launching on new platforms. I guess they're on everything now except for mobile. That's probably going to come soon. Maybe, who knows? But DC Universe Online is, to an extent, it is lighthearted, and I understand that. But that's also kind of what makes it special as a free-to-play game. It's something that anybody can play at any time and just literally jump in and jump around, and that's kind of what I do, and maybe you should too. Yeah, halfway on the list though, we have a much, much more lighthearted game, Adventure Quest 3D. Actually, They just had a freaking concert by Korn inside of this game. You see what this game looks like? And then a concert by Korn. Anyway, so my first impressions of Adventure Quest, obviously much like you guys, is, I played like the 2D version on the web browser version. That was cute, whatever. It was very humor-based. It was very comical, which reminds of like, early RuneScape. But Adventure Quest 3D is also totally focused on those weird meta events. And the developers are constantly playing with the players. And like, they'll do some weird things where they spawn like a dragon chicken or whatever in town and everyone has to fight it or something. I don't know. There's some really cool cheesy stuff going on with Adventure Quest 3D that is definitely more than just the sum of its mechanical parts. You could look at Adventure Quest and it just looks like a usual MMO to an extent. It's like, oh, this is a mobile MMO. By the way, one of the better mobile MMOs out there. Cross-platform too, by the way. But it's more than that. It's a social kind of game. If you ever played like a Roblox social server or maybe VR chat, think of stuff like that, but it actually, levels up, and instead of just having mini games or something, it's really got an RPG added to it. It's really like an MMO world that facilitates you just kind of goofing off with your friends. That's what Adventure Quest 3D is. It's not a game that just slaps you in the face like Dark Souls or something like that, or, raiding in World of Warcraft. Adventure Quest is something a little bit different. Maybe lesser to some people, but special to those who actually play it, and you should give it a shot. Alright guys, coming in at number 2 is going to be the online action RPG that's constantly mistaken for a full MMO. I don't know, it's debatable, tell me, how is it an MMO? I just literally never seen it. Okay, anyways, the game's called Neverwinter. There's actually entire channels dedicated to the updates of Neverwinter, and the people who play this game are pretty hardcore, and normally I would attribute that to it being Dungeons and Dragons. And maybe that's how some people were pulled in initially, though that didn't save Dungeons & Dragons Online. Neverwinter, though, I think is a competent action RPG dungeon diver. There's even some PvP seasons and stuff like that. I had some fun with the PvP. I don't know about the balance now. I just remember doing a lot of like mount giveaways. Like there was this owlbear thing. It was kind of adorable. Regardless, Neverwinter is an interesting concept overall. No, it's not as bombastic as something like, if you remember, Dragon Nest or Vindictus. It's a little bit more stuck on the ground, but Neverwinter is still a game that employs some really interesting class mechanics, I think. Like every class has kind of like a different dodge and different resources, obviously, and I don't know, I think it's kind of an interesting mix of like tactics and mechanics inside of an action RPG, because normally you just have either it's top-down, focused on tactics, or it's over the shoulder and it's just, it's just ridiculous combos or just one button spam and everything explodes. Neverwinter is somewhere in between, and I think it feels pretty interesting, and that's why people really like engaging the dungeon diving with this title. So they're constantly updating it. I don't know, a lot of people really are enjoying it. I haven't played it in a while, but maybe it's about time I picked it back up, because it seems like everyone's doing that every so often. And finally, for the number 1 free-to-play game that refuses to die, and it's actually the game that inspired this entire list, and it's going to be a mobile MOBA, which I believe you can also play it cross-platform on Steam, and that's a game called Vainglory. Vainglory was like the OG MOBA. We have a part of like the big 3 that was really kind of resurging whenever Dota was Dota was just kind of a mod, and then League of Legends was coming up, and there was like Air Mech and a few others. But Vainglory also for mobile was the king for the longest time until we got like the League clones, and yeah, well, that happened. But anyways, Vainglory is still doing fantastically. If you look at their YouTube channel, really awesome social media metrics, and there's just a lot of cool content going up about it. I know there's people who dedicatedly stream it, and even though it's not that big on Twitch, and it doesn't seem like it's constantly promoted on the Google Play, it's still a really fun, polished game overall. Vainglory was the game that taught me that mobile games can actually be legitimately, like, in serious, and debatably even esports, which Vainglory kind of is. No, it's not as big as League of Legends, I get it, but for a mobile MOBA, I honestly still prefer this one. I know there's bigger ones and there's ones that are more familiar, but Vainglory just is really freaking cool. I loved its overall balance, its design, and I really just appreciated the fact that it was focused on like skill shots and actual skills. And yeah, you might have to play it with 2 index fingers. It's kind of hard to play it truly mobile, but in the end, Vainglory is, well, I think it still got its glory. All right, friends, that's going to be it for my 5. There's actually probably a few others that have constantly like come out with new versions. I actually mentioned a little bit Air Mech. Air Mech is a game that keeps coming out with like a new version. There's like a new single-player campaign and whatever, but it also keeps dying constantly and consistently. So these are the 5, more so than other free-to-play games that I think are just kind of keeping the little bit of spotlight that they get every once in a while when they do an expansion or an update or they have a big esport event, something like that. These are the games, the free-to-play, that refuse to die. Games as a service, it's pretty easy once you lose the hype to die, but these are the ones that, I don't know, I don't think they will anytime soon. And each of these games are special, definitely. There's something unique with each of them, and so maybe that's why players keep coming back to them, because no other game really scratches that itch. So I know you haven't heard a lot of people talk about these games, and there's others that seem similar that are more and more popular, but trust me guys, they're worth checking out, so please do. Much love, friends and family. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you again in the next one.